Hi everybody, welcome back to my modeling channel. So today we're gonna have a combo for an MC202 and an MC205 Italian World War II fighter from Italeri, and the scale is 1/72. So we're gonna start doing the kit review initially. So let's open the box and see what we have inside. So the kits, the box comes with two different kits, as we can see. Two planes, all grey, but let's see which one is which one. It's going to be the funny part. So we're going to start basically with the instruction sheet. It's black and white with the kit description, and pretty straightforward, I have to say. And then we come in with the second aircraft. And now we have all the MC202 options. There is 3 Italian A's. And then there is another 3 Italian A's for the MC205 option. So that's about it. Decals are made in Italy and pretty straightforward for the different places. So we have a different type of we have the Italian rondelle or the fascist, basically the Mussolini regime insignia. So now let's open the box and see what we have in each of and try to find out which one is which one. That's going to be quite interesting, and see how we're going to find this out. So I have no indication about which kit, and they are pretty much look alike, so that's very interesting. So initially we have very fine engravement, 3 blades propeller, fine engravement for the panel lines with some rivets, but the rivets are outside, so that might be quite interesting, see if we can replicate them or not. And the same for the nose and the fuselage. So let's try to find out which plane is which plane. That might be the challenge, and actually the kit don't even tell you. That's very, oh yeah, okay, the MC202, and it seems like that's the one I am doing. Yeah, there is not, that's the MC205 actually that I was reviewing. We can see the difference basically over here on the gun barrel probably, and that's the number. That's quite interesting. Okay, so that's the number 12, and the other one is number 12. Actually, they are very, very, very similar kit. So this is the 205. Yes, I was correct. I was on the 205. Actually, you have to stick. Actually, that kit description will give you really which plane you're building. So pay attention on that. That will be your that's what's going to save you of building the wrong kit. So first sprue, you have the horizontal stabilizer, the 2 machine guns, and of course the wing. The second sprue basically has all the rest. You have the cockpit, the interior, the seat, the air filters, the undercarriage, propeller, and everything goes. So that's the 205. And then we have 2 clear parts for the canopy. So you have the front and window. So that's it for the 205, and yes, what am I going to do? I'm gonna write this down. MS205 to avoid any future confusion. otherwise it can become quite messy. Actually, the whole story was to do, I wanted to do one Italian, but the MS202, they have basically, one was captured by the Swiss Air Force. That's why I wanted to have this one and make the 202 in the Swiss color. So for these, you pay 20 euro and you have both kits. So that was a pretty good bargain, I have to say. And that's why I took this choice. MS202. Like this, we will avoid any mistake in the future. Alright, so more or less the same kit. Basically, actually the main thing is this part was on the other kit. So the wings is more or less similar with the propeller. And actually we have that part basically, which is basically a little bit of the fuselage. Some antennas are different between the 202 and the 205, and I think some exhaust as well. So few differences, but the plane really look like each other. So that's about it for that kit review. So enough of talking and let's start building. So we're gonna start that build by painting the inside of our cockpit and prepare the cockpit. So for these I use some Tamiya light green or cockpit color. It's working very easily. Then we're going to use the dry brush technique to enhance all the little details inside that cockpit. There was not a lot of details, and with the cockpit is very closed and concave, so you don't, anyway, in any case, you don't have much possibility to see the cockpit, so there was not a huge need to make a lot of details or to add some extra details on that cockpit. So we're gonna prepare all the parts initially, and of course I'm gonna use a little bit of weathering or some dark wash to access to give a better deepness with those padded lines, and then we're gonna assemble the cockpit all together. So after we finish this, I will add also a couple of details, a little bit of wash on the seats, and then we'll be able to work on the instrument panel. It's going to be still pretty basic, but I have to say that anyway, at 1/72 scale, sometimes you don't have much of an opportunity to make great details, but it's still better than nothing. And in any case, if you have a lower budget, no need to, well, basically with a little bit of work you can have a very nice result with a more reasonable budget for those kits. So that's also something I like to show. You don't need to buy always the all premium things unless you really want to do something special. So after we finish this, we're gonna close our cockpit, and then we're gonna add the front guns. There is a little bit of fiddling on those parts. You'll have to do a little bit of adjustment, but nothing really too difficult to handle. Then of course we'll glue all the wings together, and then it's gonna be time to move on to the mask, not the masking tape, to the to close the gaps with some putty as usual. And you know that's a kind of a big part of that modeling, filling gaps and sanding them down. So here we go. After putting the stabilizer, we're gonna remove a little bit of this, and then we're gonna add some other parts on the nose. I think, I would guess this is an air filter, but to be honest, my knowledge of those World War II fighter is not that big. So here is the time of putting the putty and filling all the gaps, and when we finish that, we'll remove of course all the excess putty, and then to smooth all the edges.
So we're now going to move on the tail. Basically that's the tail cone, basically the last lower part of that tail, and then the air filter below the cockpit basically gonna be added. And of course there was a few parts to prepare, but not too difficult. Then what we are going to do next is to basically close our wings and join them on the fuselage, close that tail cone, and of course we'll put the lower belly of the engine. So for this, of course, I needed a little bit of pressure, so my clips didn't work very well, so I just put some adhesive tape. Now we're going to fill up all those gaps again with some Tamiya putty, and we're going to try to get some nice and smooth edges and junction, and then we're going to let it dry, of course. And then after that, of course, after the curing time, normally I wait for about a night to get a curing time, especially on the grey Tamiya putty. I realize it takes longer to dry out. The white one is much faster, so I use it normally for smaller parts. Then I can continue and work quickly. So after removing all that, there will be a little bit more extra work. I realized that there was some gaps still between the wings and the fuselage, so I'll add that white Tamiya putty. But at the moment we're gonna finish sanding down and removing all the extra putty that we have on that model. So as I was mentioning earlier, I was not really happy of the surface, and I realized later on that there was a little bit of a gap between as well the leading edge, the root part basically of the wings, and the leading edge, and so I had to remove that and to have a much better surface. So I wanted to have a better shape, and which I did, and actually you can see the white part remaining, the little bit of a putty remaining, but at the end this is what we want to do. We're trying always to look for perfection. Anyway, after that we're gonna move on to those little cylinders. They could be turbo. Honestly, I have no idea what it is. Maybe you can drop me a comment on the comment box below. You can drop me if you know what those parts are, and they are just located basically below the engine, and that's basically one of the major difference you would see between the 202 and the 205. It took me a little bit of a time to realize exactly what was the difference between the two kits, trying to find my way out without doing too many mistakes. But basically this is it, and then we're gonna fix the guns as well on that MS205, and then it's gonna be time to move on to the paint booth. So we're gonna do a white band on the aft part of the fuselage, which is part of the livery of that MS205, and I did one of these Italian fighter prior 1943, if I remember correctly. So they will have the old fascist livery, but as I didn't have any in my collection yet, so I wanted to have a little bit of everything, and that's what I'm trying to do, variety, and that's a little bit interesting. So then we're gonna move on with a very light gray color, and we're gonna paint the overall all the belly on the same color, and then once that's dried, we'll add it's a kind of sand color. It's all over the fuselage before adding the camouflage style that they're using. So initially I need to do that. Nothing too difficult. I'm using some nice colors, and I have to say that it's very easy to work with. And then we're gonna move on to the camouflage. So we're gonna move on now to the camouflage. I'm using olive dark color, and then basically I start to do some close-up with the airbrush. I have to say that's the first time I'm using that technique, so the result were okay. Actually, it's not that bad, but you have to work very close and very slow to get the proper result. And I have to say that I was quite happy at the end of what I was able to handle, especially for a first time. But you'll tell me that, you'll give me your thoughts later on in the comment box. So that's one of the last part. So once everything was cured, we move on to the decaling process, and I have to say that those decal from Italeri are not the best I've been working with. They are not too bad, of course, but they are not the best. So basically they are a little bit stiff, they could break, they are more fragile than all the decals I've been using, like the Hovel, and they don't really adhere to the surface very well. So you will need some decal solution. I've been using them, basically I've been using some decal softener once I apply them, and then they really adhere completely to the surface that you're going to use, and for this you can use a cotton bud. But beside that, nothing really too difficult. So while our decaling are drying, we're now going to move on to the undercarriage. So we're going to paint the wheels, rim, and of course all the legs in metallic color, and then we're going to be able to move on. So what I had to do later on to get the exhaust, I use a metallic color and mix some rust pigment, and actually it's working pretty nice. You get a pretty nice result, but of course you have to adjust your color to depend on what the result you want to have. And then of course I was painting them directly on the exhaust using a paintbrush, and then we're gonna add some wash, a dark wash all around those filters and those exhausts. That's gonna be give a little bit more realistic effect. So we're now going to paint our tire, and for this I'm using a matte black, and then we're going to be able to start working on the undercarriage. So we will now prepare the propeller, and the propeller is basically just one part, and then you have to glue it basically on the nose, basically on the nose cone. Then we're gonna fix our undercarriage, and for this I will use some super glue, because sometimes those ones takes a lot of time and a lot of adjustments, so it's sometimes the best way is to use this. I would recommend to use some mask for yourself to protect yourself, because those vapor are quite toxic, and through the years actually I developed a pretty strong allergy. So this is what I'm doing now, same as when I'm using the airbrush. I'm using a gas mask, and that's the best way to do it. So before we move on to the wash, what I did is I put a clear coat of varnish, because I had basically some print on the white part, on the white band, coming from the airbrush. So after the wash, we let it dry. We cover the aircraft in all black color or dark color. You can use any type, like dark gray, but I'm using normally a black pastel. And then of course you're going to remove that, and that's going to let all the structure line and panel lines appear basically on your model. So the last paint touch-up, as there were some little touch-up to do on the undercarriage, on the tires, as they were directly detached from the sprues, and then of course a little bit of weathering on the aircraft itself, using the dry brush technique, of course, trying to replicate as well the chipped paint, especially around the walkway, and that's going to be basically the last part of that build, of course. And then we can see now the final result of that MS205 from Italeri. So I hope you enjoyed that build with me. If you did so, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you soon for another kit review and build review. Thank you for watching.